This is Hemant Gangaram, and just wanted to quickly introduce myself and get the webinar for today started. So I'm a Senior Manager BI Analytics and Data Governance at First Tech. I'm also the Community Chair at Sulytics since the Sulytics was started. So the topic for today is of a lot of interest to many. I think many of you guys are on your data journey. Maybe you're even considering started, whatever may be the case. But I think this webinar, which is more focused on how to get started, and more importantly, to also keep an eye on to areas that you want to avoid as you embark on this journey. So some of the pitfalls that Naveen's going to share today, who's the speaker for today's special session. Okay, so just a quick housekeeping items here. As many might have checked on the Sulytics website, we have the 2019 summit coming up. So we just wanted to make sure that all the participants take a moment to look at the survey that's posted on the website, basically to help us drive the agenda so that we can have a very well content that we can prepare and focus on for this three-day event. So for the link, you can go check out on the sulytics.com website, and you can participate in the survey there and provide your inputs as to what areas is of more importance for you to learn when you participate in this summit. Of course, the registration is open. It's happening on the April 2nd to April 4th. And the location is at the Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, the same place where we have been hosting it for a couple years now, same location. So you can see more details there as well. And the other thing that I'm also asking to all the participants, or you can share with your teams or any of your peers and any other credit unions, is to submit entries for being a presenter as well. Something that if you want to showcase a specific success story or some of the learnings maybe that might really have impacted your organization, you can participate in that presentation as well. Also on the website, you see an option on the bottom there that says Quick Start. Basically, that's the a key feature we have on Sulytics, where we help you get started on the data analytics journey. And it just starts with a simple introductory call, and then we'll set up some time to go over and provide you more details as to how to get started as well. So it's a very popular package right now on sulytics.com. And the other interesting area is the solutions gallery, which when you're seeking new tools or evaluating tools, this is a place you can go and see some unbiased reviews from users like you, and you can see how it's helping some of the organizations and make appropriate technology decisions there. The next feature which I also want to bring up is lots of new blogs on the site. There's various topics covered in these blogs that helps you keep up to date with either the evolution in marketing automation or digital platforms, mobile banking, you name it, all those new areas as it's evolving. The new information is on these blogs as well. So if you have any projects related to data analytics or any product analysis that you really want to look for more information, so sulytics.com is your site that you want to bookmark and visit. So before we begin, I'm sure I think most of the participants have been set on mute. In case if you're not, I would ask you to please mute your phones, and you can unmute later during the Q&A session further during the end of the webinar. So any questions that prop up as the presentation goes, I would encourage you to go and put those questions in the Q&A chat window, which Naveen will address as we come to the Q&A session. So again, the topic for today is getting started on your data analytics journey and what are the pitfalls to avoid, as well as how to realize the value. So that's the topic, which I'm sure it's the critical component of every credit union currently. And we have the pleasure of having Naveen Jain, who is the founder of Ceolitics, and he's been so closely working on so many data analytics initiatives at First Tech, as well as helping out various other credit unions as part of the Ceolitics. And with that, I would pass the ball on to Naveen so that he can share the today's topic, which is getting started on your data analytics journey. Naveen?
Yeah, thank you so much, Hemant, and let me share my screen. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I see an echo on the line. Looks like, are we okay? Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. So for next 50 minutes or so, I will help take you through getting started on your data analytics journey. This is based on my experience with multiple organizations that I have worked with in the past and I'm working with right now as we speak. By the way, we are having a data analytics workshop on September 25th in Irvine. It is going to be hosted at Schools First Credit Union. So if you are in the Irvine area, you can attend that free data analytics workshop. And then we have another workshop, which again, it is in the Boston area, and it is going to be on October 3rd. And it is a half-day workshop, and we can get into specific details. So if you are in that region, remember to register for that workshop as well. This PowerPoint and the recording is going to be available on Ceolitics after this session. If you have any questions, please put them on chat window and we will address them as we go. So one of the things that Peter Drucker, and if you know Peter Drucker, he is known as the father of modern management. He talks about that whatever gets measured gets managed. And I think that is so true in all businesses, but more so for the credit union and for the financial institutions, because data is all the new oil. That is what we talk about, and how it is driving the organizations to mature in engaging with the customers and driving real value to them. So here are some of the success stories that we see within the industry. And those success stories based on the data span credit unions of all sizes. In conversations that I've had in the past with multiple leaders in the industry, we talk about how credit unions have a distinct advantage. One of the big things that we have is that given that we are smaller in nature, we are able to move at a very, very fast pace. Another thing is that given how some of the newer technologies are coming in cloud, they are making it easier for us to take advantage and to help drive the value for our institutions as well as for our members. So we see, for example, when we talk about the credit card, 11.5 billion credit union, they used rich information about our members, about their members, and they use that information to revise the credit line of their members. That led to about 300 million in increased credit card portfolio. They realized that full 44% of their members who have credit card with them also have direct deposits. And by the way, this information was always there with them. It is just that they had to mine that information so that they are able to use it to revise the credit line. And they also realized that when they revised this credit line, the members who got that revised line, they tend to spend more. And this is not something where it is a irresponsible spending. It is more about that people tend to carry a card in their pocket with the highest limit so that they do not run into challenges. And I think that is what led to increased spending on their card so that they are able to drive more interchange income on month over month. Another credit union, this time 2.5 billion credit union, they drove 15% increase in their credit card utilization by revising their rewards program. Actually, it is a very interesting case study from Safe Credit Union. They were the winner of the analytics challenge at our 2018 summit. They also presented this case study at Thing. And by the way, the full details about this particular use case or success story is available on our 2018 summit video recordings on the website. Another credit union, this time a 3 billion credit union, they discovered, looking at the data that they always had with them, based on the bill payments or data that their members were using their bill payment services to pay to other financial institutions. And they found out that their members have over 100,000 credit cards that they were making the payments for. But it was just that those credit cards are not with them, but with another financial institution. Almost like a missed opportunity, because when those members are using their bill payment services, they are almost like they're considering this credit union as their primary financial institution. But when it comes to getting a credit card, they were not getting the card from them, but they were getting it from someone else. Similarly, around the loan portfolio, another credit union, 1.7 billion credit union, they realized their auto loans were priced incorrectly for a specific segment. They realized that for a specific segment, when the rates were determined for the specific segment, somehow those rates were done incorrectly, and it was leading to significantly higher growth in the auto loans, but only for that segment. They were able to use this analysis to revise those rates, basically close that leakage, so they were able to get that money which otherwise was being left on the table. Another credit union, in this case a 3 billion credit union, they discovered that their members are making auto loan payments for about 250 million portfolio to other financial institutions. Again, a lost opportunity for them. So what we see is that when we are using data within our organization, we find opportunities in almost each and every business function where we can either drive revenue, or we can contain cost, or we can obtain operational efficiency, so that we are enabling our leaders to make the decisions better. Good examples on the operational efficiency side is another credit union which basically drove their auto loan automated decisioning by looking at what are those loans where the decision was not done automatically, but it was being redirected to for manual decisioning. But 99% of those manual decisions were either approved or declined based on certain criteria. They use that as a feedback loop to further refine the decisioning process. So they were able to make automated decision on more of those loans. We all know that when they are making more automated decisions on those loans, not only are they cutting down on the operating expense, but they're also ensuring that the loans which are getting approved have a higher probability of getting accepted by the members and getting funded, because a lot of times when a member is at a dealer and they are looking to get a loan, time is of essence. And they typically go and get a loan which is able to turn around and get them approved faster, rather than waiting for a longer amount of time before they get that decision. Similarly, there was another credit union, in this case a 350 million credit union, which actually used the data and reduced their amortized loan originating expenses over life of the loan, which led to, from the financial statement perspective, increased income. So there are examples all over the different functions within the organization. And actually, I have a poll over here, which I would love to share with you. And that the poll is, let me see if I can make it work. So within your organization, where are you seeing successes in using data within your organization? Are you seeing those successes in consumer lending area? Are you seeing it in mortgages, deposits? So let me take a pause here and see what you have to say. So just a few more minutes before we end this poll. So this is actually very interesting, as I'm seeing the numbers coming up. Almost 57% of the people audience have voted over here, and we are seeing that a lot of successes are being seen in the marketing area as well as in the consumer lending, followed by finance. I would love to hear, maybe from chat or on the phone, for a few people who selected others. What are those other areas where they have seen successes? And maybe if you can put a note in the chat, maybe we can bring it up as part of our follow-up conversation. So by the way, here were the results that we saw. So consumer lending and marketing were on the top, followed by finance and um, uh, deposits and so on. Thank you so much for participating in this poll. So when we talk about data analytics and transformation, what it all boils down to is about making the members core to our strategy. What we are seeing is that only 11% of the organizations, they use data that is based on, they use data to make informed decisions. And also important is that the organizations typically have a challenge in going beyond understanding the members or customers' intentions. And there are very few organizations which get to the level of understanding why a customer or a member is behaving in a certain way. And that is where having the data is important, and understanding the core objectives of the member is very important to the overall strategy. What we also see is that less than 1/3 of the organizations are good at translating data and making it available to the business in a meaningful manner. We also see that the organizations, they struggle to manage the data, they struggle to govern it, make it available in a clear and concise and secure manner in context to the business functions when they are ready to make a decision. We also see that from the connected purposes, traditional command and control organization structures are pretty good because they drive accountability and predictability. But what they do is that they lead to longer decision cycles and disjointed customer experiences. Successful organizations, on the other hand, they create smaller multi-dimensional teams to serve single customer journey. So I think having that connected experience is so much more important for the members, as we start making them core to our strategy. And the last thing is that gone are the days when the members and customers or businesses can wait for the newer experiences. The traditional organizations are typically lost in bureaucracy and in pursuit of perfection. More and more people are adopting newer experiences faster, and therefore the faster one can execute, the quicker the organizations can win. And that is where having the members core to the strategy is very important as we execute on our data analytics journey. Next thing is around the member life cycle, where we see that the data is important as we engage with members throughout the life cycle. Members typically at the first stage, they are looking around and exploring the need, and that is where they're discovering your organization. Then they get into that explore phase, and that is where they are looking and doing some product comparison. Once they have done that comparison, then they are ready to pull the trigger, and that's when they make that purchase decision. And once they have gone through that process, that is where they want to have that product as soon as possible and start using it. Later on, there comes the support and services side, and how we can basically turn them into advocates. And then at some point, there is of course an end of life for all things, including auto loans, mortgages, and so on. And that is where how we can really engage with the members at during that phase in life. And at each phase in the journey, there are a lot of applications that are producing data or containing a thin slice of data. At each step in the journey, the applications use the data from other applications so that they can act on it. So for example, when we are early in the discover, explore, and purchase phase, there is a lot of segmentation, profiling, and targeting happening. And that segmentation, profiling, targeting can be done using the data that we have about the members who already have gone through this journey and members who have been pretty successful in what they have done for us. So for example, when a new member is coming in, if we have a lookalike model, we can see that this member fits into a segment which is seen to prefer digital banking or seen to be more profitable or less profitable than others, and we can engage with them on appropriate channels and in appropriate ways. Similarly, when a member is going through the purchase and deliveries and support process, that is where the member loyalty and the wallet share comes in the picture. That even if a member has got one product, but how can we drive that engagement through cross-sell, upsell, so that we get a bigger share or bigger partnership from their wallet perspective, so that they are using our organizations as the primary institutions that they are banking with. And then when the members are going through that sub-advocacy part, meaning if they have been a member who have been utilizing our services, how can we use that relationship that we have so that we can turn them into our strong advocates, and we can make sure that they are able to help us in retaining more of those members who may be otherwise thinking of churning or leaving us. And when we are going through that churn process, especially in case of accounts like auto loans and mortgages and others, their banking needs may have changed, but still they need those relationships. And how can we continue to build, use data to build those on top of those relationships? When we think about how many different applications there are who is containing a thin slice of information, there are tens of different applications that are used across any organization. And actually, I have another poll for that. When I was at First Stack, one of the primary things that I was looking for is that how many applications do we have internally where we have a thin slice of information about our members. So this is a question for you. How many internal application data sources do you have that generate data that can be used to influence member engagement? So this is very interesting. So when I started there, and I spoke with different business functions. Initially, we had a list of about 20 or so applications. But by the time I left after 4 years, we had identified and cataloged more than 80 different internal applications which were generating some slice of data about our members on a day-to-day basis. And remember, this is all internal applications, and it does not include, I would say, a bigger set of external applications uh, like um, uh, like the social media channels or the marketing channels or the credit reporting agencies channels, where we get more information about our members. So this is very interesting that we have more information than we can really manage as we are working across the member lifecycle. So why, as an organization, should we be making the data analytics investments? Typically, those investments are made at a very, very high level for one of those three reasons. The organizations, they want to grow revenue. They want to grow product portfolio by engaging members at the right time, right message, right context. They want to gain competitive advantage over other institutions. And they, at the end of the day, want to improve that customer satisfaction and interaction, again, so that customers can do more of that deeper, they can deepen that relationship with those members so that they are able to get more services from those banks. And second is more around containing the cost, because there is a huge cost around the decision making. How can they have a better business planning? How can they develop better products and services that jive with the audience? And how can they provide that better transparency in terms of the cost of running the business and things like that, so that they are able to contain that cost? And then the third part is more around that operational excellence, that how can they manage the data in a way so that it is available at the right time to the right people. From the security point of view, how can they make sure that the data is, especially we deal with a lot of sensitive data, and how we are able to manage the security around the data so that it is only available to the right people. How can we make sure that the data quality challenges that we have, are able to contain and manage them? A lot of times I have seen at multiple organizations, if you ask 5 analysts, how many members joined your institution last month, you will get 5 answers, and each of those answers is right. The reason is because each of those analysts have a different understanding of the definition of member. They have a different understanding of what the last month means. They had a different data set or different data source where they were pulling the data from. Someone was probably pulling the data from the marketing systems. Another one must be pulling the data from the loan origination system. Someone may be pulling the data from the core banking. And what about the information which sometimes doesn't even live in the core banking, especially, for example, in certain cases about the participation loans or the student loans and things like that. So those are typically the common reasons why people make the investments in the data analytics area. And what are the top challenges that they face? The top challenges that they face is more around the culture part, that organizations, and this is something that we spoke earlier about bringing members to the core of our strategy, that a lot of organizations, because of control reasons, because of accountability reasons, are designed in a certain way that the data silos are created. And it becomes challenging for the organizations and management to overcome those data silos. A lot of times I hear about this data being a marketing data or a retail data or a lending data, where the real value is in bringing all this data together so that we are able to get better insights and take action on those insights. Another challenge around the culture part is around that executive commitment and alignment. A lot of times we hear that the executives are, we need for any initiative, and it's more so for the data analytics initiative, a very strong executive commitment is needed, and that alignment is needed so that we are all on the same page and moving in the same direction. I hear from different organizations where there is not cohesive strategy, there is a lack of focus, and therefore there are a lot of times different initiatives, parallel initiatives, conflicting initiatives, competing initiatives going on at the same time. Just to give an example, I recently came across or talking to CIO of this organization, pretty big, one of the top 100 in size for the credit unions. And they had Power BI and Tableau. They're both data visualization tools. And for an organization which is this size, about 500, 600 people employee base, you don't need those type of conflicting technologies or competing technologies, because it is almost like a leakage. From the competency perspective, is the business ready? Is there enough expertise in the business to act on the data? A lot of times I have seen that, of course, managing the data, governing it, getting the insights is difficult. But at the same part, the most difficult thing in this entire process is not the first part, but it is more about taking action on those insights. Because at the end of the day, if we are not able to take action on those insights, how good is it? It is not really going to drive that value that we are all craving for. Because that is where, when we start taking about the action part or operationalizing on the data, that is where the real challenges come in, because that is where the process changes come in. That is where the people changes come in. That is where we have to go through this whole training process, or we have to go through that whole process transformation. And then there are some capability challenges, and those capability challenges are more around the technology or data management, data governance, exploration, analytics, and so on. And I think each of those capability challenges, they exist in the organizations. Can they be overcome? Yes, they can be overcome with the right level of talent and skill that the organizations can bring it forth. So when we think about the data analytics strategy, one thing that I always talk about is how any data analytics practice should start with the vision and the strategy. It should start with the business value. It should start with ensuring that the organizations is aligned and understanding what is the value that they want to drive, what are the things that are important for them, and what are the things that are not important for them, before they make any decisions around the people, process, and the technology. And when I say people, I do want to qualify that. In some organizations, we see that they may not have a single person or a role who is ready to lead the data analytics strategy. In those situations, the organization may make that decision to bring in that right talent within the organization to lead that part. But typically what we advocate is that the organization should start with the vision and strategy before they start making investments in the people, processes, and technology. I was actually talking with a credit union about 2 billion in asset few weeks back, and they just made an investment into a data visualization technology. And they thought that this technology is going to also act as a data warehouse, and it is going to magically solve all their challenges. When technology decisions should typically come towards the tail end, it should start with the value, then it should have the people, process, and technology parts, so that technology is not the driver, but it is more of an enabler of the strategy. If you are within your organization, if somebody asks you what is your data analytics strategy, and if you say that our strategy is to build a data warehouse, that is not really the right answer. The right answer should be more about the value that you are looking to drive, and the data warehouse or any other technology should be an enabler that will accelerate your journey. lot of organizations who are in the very initial stages, they may actually be able to drive value even with the traditional tools that you already have in place, which is Excel and Access. Technology is important, but it is not should not be the driver, and it should be the enabler, and the organizations can get a lot of value that way. So here is actually a maturity model from the analytics, data analytics perspective. On the top is what are the 4 major, I would say, phases or stages. And over here is what are the key capabilities. So what we see is that good number of organizations that I speak with, credit unions, they are somewhere between 1 and 2, where either there is a chaos, they don't really have a very well defined and aligned strategy. The power is with the individual analysts. That is key. So let me give you an example. I was actually four years back when I joined First Stack, and I was talking to one of our analysts in the retail organization, and he used to put together a dashboard for the SVP of retail that used to be delivered every week. And once I asked him, like, so what happened when you are on vacation? And he said, you know what, I don't go on vacation. I said, come on, in the last 5 years, you have been in an organization, you have never been on vacation. He said, you know what, first thing is I don't go on vacation. And even if I go on vacation, I take half an hour, 1 hour to run those macros in Excel and Access so that this report is generated and is available to the leadership in time. Is your organization over there? Process. A lot of times in those organizations which are in stage 1, they don't trust the data. They don't trust the data within the function. If there are 2 analysts and they are trying to share a data story, instead of the focus being on the story that the data is telling, the focus becomes that your numbers are not matching my numbers. Where did you pull the data from? What query did you use? What where clause did you use? What order by, and all those things, rather than on the actual story that the data is telling. And then on the technology side, we see these organizations tend to use disparate systems. They are, of course, using the canned reports, but mostly from the disparate systems. So whatever reports come from the core banking or from the CRM system or marketing automation system or loan origination systems, they are pretty good in using those canned reports as is. But they are not. They have a challenge in bringing the data from different systems together to get better insights on them. Then in the second phase, what we see is that the organizations tend to start maturing more at the departmental level, meaning there is one department which is a lot more mature than the others. So over here, they start having alignment at the functional level. So within, for example, a retail function or a consumer lending or mortgage, there is a pretty good understanding on what is the mission and strategy of that function and how is data going to help support that strategy that they have. When in this stage, the functional managers are becoming more data savvy. They not only understand the data, but they also know what questions to ask the analyst. They also are trying and asking analysts to stretch themselves and get better insights or better integration so that they are able to get to those information that they have been craving for. In this situation, from the process point of view, there may still be conflicting functional views, but within the function, there is a pretty good understanding of what each of those terms mean. And this is also the place where they are building or they are in initial stages of building those dashboards and data discovery, especially from the disparate systems, but at a functional level. Then the next phase, when the organizations, they start becoming more mature, we see that they have a actionable mission that is supported by data. Here, the executive functional managers, they tend to become more data savvy. There is no more dependence on individuals. And if that individual is not there, there is someone else who is able to pick up those things. There are common data views for specific positions, meaning for a specific customer journey, which may span across multiple business functions. And then the overall integrated system is evolving. And in the more mature state, the overall mission and strategy of the organization is not only supported by data, but it is embraced and it is acted upon by the organization. There is a lot of um, uh, closed loop actions that can be taken based on the decisions that are being driven by the data. The whole organizations is becoming analytics savvy. They are not really asking, they're asking that the decisions be made based on the data, and they are looking for the data to have those conversations around the decisions that are being made. And the data is seen as a truth, and they have processes which are closed loop processes, so that the output of the process is again used as an input to further refine and have a continuous refinement across the process. And from the technology perspective, the processes have data embedded in them. It is available in a more close to real-time manner, and the processes are interconnected with each other. So say, for example, as soon as somebody's onboarding, whatever that next step is in terms of servicing them, those applications are connected to each other, and you are not really looking at those applications in an interconnected, disconnected manner. So let me take a pause here for a minute and ask where, so two questions. Where in your organization do you see you are on the data analytics maturity curve? So this is very interesting, and I think this is where I actually thought where I will see that most of the organizations are in the early stages, where either there is a lot of chaos, or there are certain departments, not all departments, but there are certain departments which are more mature than others. Again, this whole maturity curve it does not apply to big credit unions only, or only to small credit unions. Actually, it applies to everyone. We see that whether an organization is big or small, it doesn't matter. The same maturity curve applies at all stages. So when an organization is, and by the way, this is the results. So when the organization is going through this process, there are certain things that they need to do from the defining the vision perspective. And I think in essence of time, I will actually maybe speed up a little bit. They need to do certain things from the people perspective. They need to do certain things from the process perspective. And of course, they need to do certain things from the technology perspective, where the data comes together, they are able to analyze it, get the insights, take decisions, and finally improve the performance. And the big question which get asked is that how should or where should we start? And one of the things that I have been consistently talking about is that how you as a leader within your organization should think about think big, have a bigger vision in view where you want to go, but you have to start small. You cannot really boil the ocean, and you have to start where you are able to deliver value at a faster pace to the business and to the members, so that you are able to create that excitement that can help you in executing on bigger initiatives. There are two options that we see that are available to most credit unions through Ceolitics. One of them being, which is something which drives immediate value, and this is what is the product FinSight. What FinSight does is that it looks at your transaction data, and there are pre-built models which can help you provide lists of members who may be right there for refinance of the auto loan, or mortgages, or moving of the 401k, or opening some CDs and things like that. And here you can drive immediate results which can help you in gaining the confidence. Or The another option is sorry, for the organizations to focus on the value and the scale. And that is where the quick start strategic consulting can help you in working with your senior leadership in defining the strategy and then defining the roadmap for value, people, process, and technology. And I think both of these are good ways for you to help get started on your data analytics journey. From the FinSight point of view, what we do is that we do the heavy lifting so that you can focus on the value to members. We map out a fast, minimal process so that you are able to leverage the results. You don't need to worry about the actual data mining and things like that. We can help you accelerate your in-house effort, which may be typically 6 to 12 months, to a matter of weeks. And what it does is that it allows you to focus on the business value instead of the technology skills and costs. And then we provide the technical know-how so that you are able to leverage this service with minimal effort, low cost, and at a very, very fast pace. The way it works is that we take your transaction data for the last 2 years without any critical NPI data information. We run it through the Celotex data model, and then we provide to you some actionable list that can help drive member experience, drive the promoter score, build some stronger relationship, and of course, increase your business banking portfolio. So that is the most important thing. And then from the timeline perspective, it is typically about 4 to 6 weeks. That is what we are hoping. It takes, you provide us the transaction data, we process it, and then we provide the first result set, we analyze the results, and then we have a list that you can work with to further deepen that engagement. Other option is to engage in a quick start consulting, and typically this is about 6 to 8 weeks engagement where we go through the initial discovery phase, we set up a current state assessment, we do a future state and a vision recommendation, and the most important thing is that you have a value roadmap with the opportunities prioritized so that you are able to execute against it. So here is a short list of deliverables that is available to you as quick start. It includes the detailed analysis of the challenges, opportunities, and vision as described by your management team. So we basically put it together so that it is easier to consume and refer back. We have a complete assessment of your current data analytics practice, and we work with your team to put together a vision statement and followed by a prioritized roadmap for value. And this value roadmap is supported by the roadmap for people, process, and technology. So that you, when you are making those investment decisions, you are making those decisions based on the value that you will be getting and not other way, where you're not making a technology decision and then trying to find out how can I deliver value using this technology. So the key takeaways, and by the way, this is the last slide, and then we will open up for Q&A, is that the data analytics investment is essential for modern credit unions. I think there is no doubt about this thing. We have been talking about data analytics for quite some time, and it is now essential more than any other time in the past. There are FinSight, which is a very small investment, can help drive value and gain confidence so that you are able to drive and use that value that you have recognized and reinvest it back to further your data analytics practice. And another option is that you start with a quick start in consulting that brings strategic focus to grow revenue, contain cost, and drive operational excellence. And then, of course, what it did, all these things does is that it reduces risk and helps you accelerate your journey. So if you have any questions, here is my email address. And we will open up the lines. And Hemant, do you have any questions that you have received at your end?
Yeah, I got a few questions here. So thank you, Naveen. So one of the questions that came out is you talked about the challenges, which is around the culture, competence, and capabilities. Is there any one of them that you think would make more impact versus the other that you have seen?
So I think when we think about uh, the culture, competencies and capabilities, they all go hand in hand. But for any organization to succeed in their data transformation journey, culture is the most important thing, because that is where the people aspects come in. That is where the executive commitment and alignment come in. Because if in an organization we do not have appropriate level of support and alignment, any initiative, it doesn't matter whether it is a data initiative or anything else, but any initiative will have a harder time in becoming successful. Competency and capabilities, they comes second. I think that it starts with the culture.
Okay, great, thank you. The other question that I see is, we are a small credit union, and where should be the first focus for us to make investment?
Yeah, and I think that is a very good question, and I think that is something that comes up so often, that as a small credit union, where should we really make that investment? And I think that you should be making investment into small start. You have to start small. You have to find one or two areas within your business functions where you are able to drive value before you really go broader. One of the things that can be done, and of course we can talk after this call, is around FinSight. We don't know whether FinSight is the right fit for you or not, because there are certain models and certain analysis that FinSight can do. But we can talk about what are those things that can help drive value for your business. And maybe if you start focusing on those things first, then it can help you in evangelizing around those successes and making that whole investment work out for you from the long run perspective.
Great.
Does that answer the question? Who was that question for? Maybe we should open up those lines so that we are able to make sure that this really helps answer that.
Yes. I think people lines are not muted anymore. So I think if you have any other questions, you can ask through the chat window or even on the phone.
And actually, I have a question here from Heath Moore about what steps can I take to create a data-driven culture? And I think that is a very good question, because I think one of the things that we think about is more from the two things, from the vision perspective and from the people perspective. So from the vision perspective, I think very important is that executive alignment. That is, how committed are your executives in using data to make the decision? At the time when they are looking to make those decisions, are they asking for data? Are they making sure that they understand that the data is there to help them in making the decisions? If executives are committed, then I think some of the other things fall in place. But the next thing is around that once you have that commitment and alignment with the executives, that you need to work on that organizational alignment so that you are able to align with the middle management within the organization, have open and transparent strategy and roadmap so that organization knows what are the things you are going to work on and what are the things that you are not going to work on. And you have a pretty well-defined roadmap so they know what to expect and what not to expect. If you are, for example, taking up certain business challenges to work on, they know that it is not like everything else that is not being done is a black box, but it is something that is going to be taken care of sometime in the future after your current initiatives are done. As part of this process, you should be ready to show some quick wins. If you are going in a room working on some initiative for 6 months, a year, and then coming out, I think those times are gone. You have to basically show some progress and show that you're moving towards a success on an ongoing basis through those quick wins. Then on the people side, how you're organizing how the organization, how your data analytics organization is organized within the organization, meaning who does it report to? What are you doing to enable your analysts so that they are able to look beyond the four walls that they were earlier restricted by? So for example, someone who is in the retail, are they able to get access to the data which is being generated from the applications on the marketing side or from the lending side, so that they are able to bring that data together and they are able to get those insights? How are you promoting and empowering those people? And more important is, how are you really bringing and driving that collaboration? One thing that we used to do at First Tech, which was very good, is hosting the annual analytics challenge, very similar to the analytics challenge that we host at our summit. But in this case, it was something that was open to all analysts within the organization. And there were so many interesting and cool things coming out of those challenges. Of course, it was a little bit of work initially, but I think it takes some time to drive that cultural change. I hope that answers your question, Heath.
So Naveen, I'm kind of was more interested in one of the polls that you did, where you're asking a question about the maturity of it, and I think most respondents were indicating around the second phase, or more not chaos but more reactive.
Yes.
So I was just kind of curious, how does one really measure where you are at? I mean, a couple of questions. Because this is something that we are doing at First Tech as well, to reassess where we are in terms of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about from one phase to the other? What's the typical maybe time cycle, or what do you think is the appropriate time for some organization to move from chaos to reactive mode to the next phase?
Yeah, so very good question, Hemant. And I think when we think about the maturity cycle, there are four key elements. We talk about the strategy, people, process, and technology. And actually, each of these four areas have some, I would say, sub areas. For example, and by the way, I have a poll up over there around the people. And if people want to take that poll while we talk about the maturity, that will be nice. So when we talk about the strategy, there are three things in it. One is how the data is being used to align with the vision that the organization has. Second is more around the performance management, meaning is the data being used to manage the performance, not at activity level, but more at a value level. And then the next thing is more around that how the data initiatives are aligned with the business focus or business initiatives. So if those three things are there, then we see that on a strategy side, the organization is maturing to the next level. Similarly, on the people side, we think about the staff skills and talent, program management capabilities, and the adoption capabilities. From the process, we talk about what are the actions that are being taken on the inside, what is the trust in the data, and how is that data being delivered so that it is available to the business on time, in context, and so on. So all these things, as we go deeper, they are pretty significant in itself. A lot of times the organizations may move to from level 1 to level 2 from the people perspective, but the technology or the process may lag. So I would say that the organization should not look at it more like a 1 or 0 or a binary thing, but they should think of these phases as a continuum, as a spectrum along these 4 axes, and see how they should move from one stage to another stage along these 4 dimensions, so that they are able to find real value from the data and from the digital transformation journey. Typically, that going from one stage to another stage is a multi-year initiative for an organization of any size. Typically, For credit unions, I would say they have an advantage. Given the size, they are nimble, they are agile, and they can move fast. And therefore, the overall journey for them to move from stage one of the maturity, which is the chaos, to uh, to a more mature state is uh, is faster. So for a bigger organization, which is like a big bank with 20,000 people or 40,000 people, it will take a whole lot of effort, a lot more effort and time to move from one stage to another stage. Whereas for a smaller organizations like credit unions, which are typically 500 people or less, or even 1,000 people or less, a journey from stage one to stage four is a lot faster. Does that answer the question, Hemant?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Yes, thank you. So I think we're just a little over the time. And if there is no other questions, I think we can look at closing down the session today. So, but before that, I just really want to thank Naveen for sharing this aspect of data journey, as well as like areas that you want to consider as you embark on this journey. Some of the areas you want to really focus on, making sure that you have the executive alignment, as Naveen was stressing upon, so which is very essential. And there is great insights, as well as to look for those potential areas to avoid as you get onto this journey. And Naveen, you shared also some of the aspects of where to invest and what are some of the challenges. You also kind of talked about the maturity model. And then the two products that you shared was around the FinSight as well as a Quick Start. So I think that was a great session to cover up all these areas. And I want to really thank all the attendees today who joined, took some time to participate in this webinar, and for the questions. As you all know, we'll post the recording of the today's session on the Sulytics website next week, as well as you can watch some of the previous webinars that has been posted in case if you missed them in the past. With that, I just want to wish everyone a very successful journey on your data analytics initiatives. Keep continuing asking questions, posting on the blogs on the Sulytics site, and don't forget, next month, that's November 28th, we have a joint presentation from CU Rise Analytics and OnApproach related to a topic called Explore Visualization, Taking Game to Next Level for Credit Unions. That's something really close to me, as I've spent quite some time on visualization, and a very interesting session next month. So make sure you sign up and participate in that. So on behalf of Sulytics, all the community members, as well as other participants, thank you for joining again today, and have a wonderful rest of Wednesday. Talk to you. Thank you, Naveen.
Thank you, Hemant, and thank you everyone for joining.